Hello and welcome to Coronacrisis. My name's David Haythornthwaite and I'm the chairman of AFC Fylde. And over the next few weeks and months, I'm hopefully going to take you through what goes on behind the scenes of a non-league football team at times like this. We're going to discuss all the issues regarding behind the scenes, the players, off-field staff, all the things that contribute to the running of the club, and how we're dealing with the issues that are being thrown at us on a daily and weekly basis, so that it gives you a really good insight to the club and the running of clubs in general. So I look forward to you joining me on this journey.
Okay, David, thanks for joining us as we look to talk again behind the scenes what's going on at AFC Fylde at the minute. Today's the day after yesterday's announcement on what happened with the vote. What can you tell us on what your current standpoint is, where AFC Fylde stand with that?
Right. Okay. Thanks, Adam. Yeah, it's pertinent, isn't it, that we're having this the interview we always do every Thursday now, whatever we're up to. And you're right. It's the day after the vote was finally taken. The resolution. And approved, and I think was probably by the speed of the announcement yesterday afternoon was probably approved unanimously, which I thought it would be for various reasons. Main one being that it doesn't affect most people, and most people are pretty fed up and wanted to probably would have had the vote many weeks ago if they could have done. So, trying to take things in order, I think the first thing would be it would be untoward of me not to congratulate Barrow on promotion. I was sitting in the bath last night, pretty a little despondent. I'll talk about that later because it's never over. I think I said to you last week when it looked like we were going to be, escape. It's never over till the fat lady sings, and she hasn't finished singing quite yet. But I was also thinking that I famously, and to the great delight of many people, I believed last night on Twitter, put 2022 on our sleeves, and that was I put that on when I got involved 15 years ago, and that was my 15-year plan to get in the Football League, as many people know. He's always been sort of treated with derision, I think, by many sort of sets of supporters, more the ones that tend to be with the older clubs. We've been through that many a time, but at the moment, it's in that respect, it looks like that's going to be a pretty difficult task to achieve, because if we do get relegated, it'll mean we'll have to have back-to-back promotions to get in the Football League by 2022. Not by any means impossible, but a big ask in any circumstance. However, it was put in perspective last night when I was thinking about Barrow's return to the Football League, and that it has taken them 48 years since they were actually relegated, demoted in those days, voted out. Many would say I certainly wasn't pertinent to the facts at that time, but it was in the days when there wasn't automatic promotion from the from the conference as it was then, and they used to have a committee. I think the old Bob Lord used to sit on it. The old chairman of Burnley, if I remember, real character. And it was at the end of the season. It was voted whether or not they decided they wanted clubs in or out, and it was totally undemocratic. It was kind of supposed to be democratic, but I think undemocratic, and I think in many ways poor old Barrow got voted out because nobody, certainly from down south, fancied that trip to Barrow. The only worse one than that's Carlisle, isn't it, or maybe Hartlepool. But Yeah, certainly off the beaten track, Barrow, and I think they've always felt their fans, that they were sort of done that day, and it was unjustified. So they've had to wait 48 years. So my 15-year plan, my failure, I suppose, and I haven't failed yet, of getting in the Football League in 15 years' time, felt a little bit better in that respect. God, if I thought I had to wait 48 years, first of all, I won't be here. So I hope it doesn't take 48 years for Fylde to do it. I'll be long gone. But no, congratulations to them. And, ultimately, I think that a little bit like Macclesfield, who went up 2 seasons ago, it shows that, you don't always need the clubs with the most money don't always go up. Just as they don't always win the Premiership. Occasionally a Leicester City comes along. Occasionally a Barrow comes along, and they've when you look at the other clubs, we've talked about it many times, the money that Solihull and Yeovil and to name 2, and certainly Notts County, the amount of money they were spending, you would have thought automatically they should be top of the league, but Barrow, under Ian Everett's leadership, it's no secret that he was my first choice, at the time, to replace Dave Challinor. I talked about that before. He decided to stay with Barrow. I'm sure Barrow fans are delighted about that, and he's done a great job with a limited budget. And you look through the team, and there's you wouldn't sit there and every respect, by the way, to any Barrow player to watching, you wouldn't sit there and say there's a bunch of stars. He managed to get a goal scorer in Quigley that had been sort of misfiring at other places, and he was on fire up there. So every credit to Barrow, and I'm sure that if you're a Barrow supporter, you probably got a pretty thick head this morning, or you might still be drinking, because 48 years is a long time. So well done to those guys. I did hear, in actual fact, 15 minutes ago on another conversation that they're probably going to be losing their manager, because I understand he's a hot favourite for the Bolton job at the moment, and that is a big old club. Barrow's a pretty old established club, but Bolton is a huge club. So they probably won't worry too much about that. At the end of the day, he's done the job. He's got them up. By getting them up, he's got himself probably a better job. And that's what football and life's about, isn't it? I've always had a simple philosophy that if other clubs aren't chasing, trying to steal my centre forward or steal my manager or steal my physio, then I'm not doing my job. Because if they're trying to steal them, they're doing a good job, aren't they? And if they're not trying to steal them, they're not doing a good job. So by definition, success sometimes will cause you to lose your better players and you in football and your better managers. So but I say they'll be more than delighted that they're after 48 years. So the rest of the league now has to be decided. We're going to have the playoffs. The playoffs have to be completed by the 31st of July. I understand they're going to start on the 18th of July. And, we've got pretty much the table, apart from with the vote last night, as everybody knew was going to happen, Barnet leapfrogged Stockport County into that playoff position. So those 6 clubs are clear now. I think Halifax are going down to Boreham Wood, and then the winner of that has to go to Harrogate, and I think probably Barnet probably have to go down to Yeovil, would it? And then the winner of that, I think, has to go to Notts County, and then the winner of the Notts County, winner of those games, then play each other in the final. So interesting to see what happens there.
And all of those playoffs games will be on BT Sport. So will you be watching? And who do you fancy to win it?
I don't think I'll be watching the playoffs. I mean, I watched, and that's not because of any bitterness or anything, but I watched I don't know whether you did, but I watched the first game last night. In actual fact, I was talking to my office in Singapore this morning, and my office manager there, Alvin, he's a big United fan, so I was telling him that the first games were broadcast last night, and I watched maybe 15 minutes of the City Arsenal game, and I was telling him that they've done a really good job of sort of importing the sound to it, and it was pretty good. If you close your eyes and just listen, and the commentary and the sound, it could have been a real game. So I thought they did. I missed the part where they scored, so I don't know how good it was then. Yeah, yeah. That's the difficult part. I thought how they did that, or how they would do that. So, but the one thing for certain, BT Sport won't have all that technology and investment to do that. So I think games behind closed doors on TV, never meant for that. And obviously Sky, with all its money and everything that's involved, Premiership, they're able to do it. But I don't think I'll be watching a lot of the Premiership, really, in that it's just not the same, unless you've got a personal interest in it. So, but I certainly, when it comes to the final, I'm sure if I'm not doing something else, and if I'm around, I will do. I could be putting my glasses on and watching that one.
And did you have a view on who might be the strongest team?
Difficult. I mean, we've got an unusual situation now, haven't we? And I'm not sure how the league are going to sort that out, really, because you've got a club such as Boreham Wood, who are part-time club. Danny, I've said many a time, with the money, the crowd, everything he does, Danny's a passionate guy. He's done an amazing job with Boreham Wood. Done an amazing job. But all his players' contracts end because he hasn't got a lot of money, and he manages it well at the end of April. So, all these players have basically flown the nest. Now, luckily, they're not in some nightclub in Ibiza or, I'm in Magaluf somewhere where they normally would be, because you can't go anywhere. So I suppose it's probably helpful that the players are around. They've now, obviously, they had a choice, Adam. I don't know whether you know this, but when we had our conference last week, we had a choice. No club would be penalised for not entering. There's a lot of costs involved. We've been doing some analysis on it, which I'll come to later on what, and we think that, just sort of training, the normal testing procedures that you have to do is training, the cost is somewhere around 20,000 a week, just in a training for a normal football club. So it's no different for, shall we say, a club in non-league. So first of all, I think they've got to make a decision. I don't know when the league are going to ask them when they've got to make that decision, but they've got to make a decision if they want to play. I think, from that standpoint, Notts County are in the driving seat. I mean, they just recently announced, didn't they, that, after they've let everybody go, they sort of said, we've still got a squad of 25, as though they were paupers. 25 left if the players were to take place. So I think from the point of view of squad size, everything, and I haven't taken a lot of notice of everywhere else, I would say that probably Notts County would be in the driving seat. But playoffs are playoffs. Harrogate's had a fantastic season, and they're a good side, Harrogate. I personally, if I had to choose a favourite, I would go with the underdog. I would go with Boreham Wood. I'd love to see Boreham Wood win it, and I'd just love to see them have that chance to be in the Football League and to prove that, hey, you don't have to be a big club to get in there. You don't have to spend the most money. So If Danny can manage that, I think it'd be really, really difficult for him because, as I say, he's a part-time club anyway. He's getting the players back in, and one of the key things, of course, is going to be fitness, and getting the players fit. So I think they've got about 4 weeks from now to then to sort of do a pre-season, and then then the matches will come. Some clubs will have to play 2 games. Some clubs will have to play I think 3 games or 4 games. So, but whatever, it's going to be interesting, But I think probably just on squad, probably Notts County, I would say. If I don't see what the bookies have got really, but I think the bookies will probably have Notts County probably marginal favourites or equal with Harrogate, and probably Yeovil. Maybe Yeovil after that. I'm sure Boreham Wood will be last on there. I don't fancy Halifax. Sorry, Halifax Town fans. I don't fancy them really. I don't think the squad's deep enough, strong enough. I know they hammered us that day. That was probably one of the nails in Dave or the start of the putting the nails in Dave Challoner's coffin when they battered us that day. But I think that I think it's between Notts County and Harrogate. I think who'll win it.
Well, thanks for your views.